Hi, my name's Casey McCormick, and I'm Vice President of Global Innovation here at Sweegen.
Hi, my name's Robert Pan. I'm Certified Senior Flavorist, working in the global innovation in Sweegen. The sweeteners depend on what kind of sweetener you want to replace, like a sugar or artificial sweeteners. The sugar, sometimes in the food industry, they have so many different functionality. Sugar is not only just give us a sweetener taste, sometimes they will give a texture, they give a mouthfeel, they give a color, they give a flavor. Sometimes they will do a preservative. They will sometimes have a different moisture content. So depending on in what function you try to replace, and you'll focus on a different area, and that's make the sugars, the sweeteners sometimes very, very complex and difficult to manage. And sometimes you have a heat involved, and sometimes the sugar would caramelize. They will give a different flavor of change, different color change, and a lot of time the artificial sweeteners, they don't have that kind of function, so they make the whole thing more complex.
Sweetness is not just being sweet. Sweetness has character. So there is, beyond just the taste experience, there's also an emotional experience. So when you're looking to recreate sweetness in a product, you have to manage that sensorial experience, but also it feeds into the emotional experience, for consumers who want to be delighted with whatever it is that they're consuming.
That depends on what the function we will try to replace the sugar. For example, like in beverage, we replace not only just for the taste, sometimes mouthfeel, and sometimes when you have used high-density sweeteners, the whole body is not there, and how do you complex the whole, the sugar body is there to give the whole mouthfeel, the texture, and it's not bring the more challenge for that. So on and on, have a lot of different area we can play with.
Challenges in sugar reduction are multifactorial. We talked a little bit earlier about the difference in sweetness character between sugar and many of the alternatives out there, but there's additional dimensions to that. Over the last several decades, we've seen a continued macro trend of consumers looking to move away from artificial sweeteners. So those are the synthetic compounds that have been available since the 1970s to take calories out but replace the sweetness in products. There's been a lot of interest in moving out, but there has probably been lower levels of interest or awareness in some of the alternatives, things like monk fruit or stevia that are coming to the market. So manufacturers need to, one, continue to win on taste with the alternatives that they propose, but they've also got to come up with solutions that feel natural and feel real to consumers in order to get them to use their money to purchase off the shelf.
Yeah, I just hear about that in the future 10 years, the zero sugar product probably will increase at least probably 15%, and will increase from almost like $15 million in the market.
Yeah, I think right now is like zero added sugar beverages compound annual growth rate is forecasted at 13% for the next 10 years, which would make this a $10, $20, $30 billion industry by the early 2033.
Yeah, that's great. Sweet protein, that is basically the most important thing because it's a natural compound that's from the plant protein. Unlike the artificial sweeteners, they would not give the calorie for our body because they will not break down to give the blood sugar content will increase. So that makes it very, very interesting for the industry. And that is why, and also the plant protein sweeteners, also they can hold the temperature, much higher temperature. For 100 degrees, they can hold it at least for 2 hours. So in some application, that is very positive feeling. Also on the low pH, they also can survive for that kind of thing. So that make more interesting for the industry to look into for this kind of product.
Sweet proteins are very exciting for the industry. It's something that has been known in academia and within the industry for many, many decades, but they haven't been commercially available before. And what makes them exciting is that these are natural molecules, so these occur in abundance in agriculture around the world, and they're very, very high in sweetness intensity. So sweet proteins are anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 times sweeter than sugar on a weight basis. So what it means is that you can use a very small amount of them to replace a very large amount of sugar. So there's a significant benefit in terms of calorie trade-off from moving from sugar to sweet proteins. So when we think about sweet and sweet ingredients, when we use these materials at very low levels, what can that do with regards to flavors themselves, like strawberries and orange, in terms of enhancing or bringing that flavor more forward?
Usually, the sweeteners usually they have a different kind of function. If you use a higher level, it will give a very sweet profile, the taste. By using very low level, you will enhance the flavor. Sometimes not only just enhance flavor, sometimes you can depress some kind of unwanted flavor. And sometimes you can modify different kind of flavor profile. That is you using the flavor modulation. That if when you're using the very low level, for example, in the sweet, if we're using lower than 1.5% the equivalency the sweeteners profile, you can give your fruity flavor more juicier taste. You can give the acid flavor, probably you tone down a little bit, much more smoother. You also sometimes you can masking some kind of bitterness note you don't want it, and sometimes you can modify different kind of fruity profile or just make it juicier and juicier. So they work very well with combination with different kind of sweeteners because each sweeteners they have a different kind of so-called like a sweet peak. So sweet protein that usually they will have slightly delayed sweeteners, and you can combine with, for example, like with stevia, with different kind of sweeteners or monk fruit, they will combine each other. They help each other to give a much sweet, truly sugar-like profile.
Are they like teammates on a high-performing team then?
Yeah, they can see. You can say that.
Yeah, all right. Go Team Sweegen.
Yeah.
Brazzein is actually a protein-based sweetener. It's a peptide. There's actually a whole family of peptide-based sweeteners, but Brazzein is actually one of the most interesting, specifically because not only does it have the high sweetens potency we were talking about, it is also very stable in the conditions that we need to use to make food products. You typically need to introduce heat into making food products. You typically need high acid conditions to make a lot of food and beverage products. And proteins by their nature are not very stable in those conditions. Brazzein is very resilient to those conditions. So not only does it have this efficacy of sweetness, it also has the tolerance that the food industry would need in order for a sweet peptide to be able to provide value. One of the fun parts about my job is that we actually here at Sweegen, we get to work with a lot of new molecules, things that have never been commercially available before, and that's very exciting. It's also by far and away the hardest part of my job because there's no roadmaps or guidebooks to help us understand how to use these. So, at Sweegen, we actually have a dedicated team of professionals like yourself to help companies by incorporating Brazzein into much more sophisticated systems, whether those are flavor systems or sweetener systems, that can be very easily incorporated into a lot of food products where we see benefit. For example, in the confectionery industry, where we know that very bitter chocolate can have a high consumer appeal, but when you go to sugar-free, the consumers may not like some of the bitter notes. We know Brazzein is very effective there. We know that in the alcohol industry, where there's a lot of issues with alcohol bite at the end of some of these RTD cocktails that are very popular in the marketplace today. Brazzein is something that is, as a tool, can help mitigate those issues and make these products have much more mainstream taste with consumers.
For this Brazzein, not only give a sweetness, they also can enhance the umami taste. So that's the reason why when this product, when you use it on a savory, not only just use it on a sweet side, use it on a savory side, they also can enhance a lot in the tomato juice or tomato soup that give the much rounded umami note in there. So much, not only just for sweet and also on a savory side, also can utilize it for this kind of product. That you have to try in different kind of application because that is very, very application driven. So if you can work with us to know what application you are using, we would give a good suggestion to which one will perform much better for that kind of product. Yeah.
That makes sense. Makes sense. It's very matrix specific.
Yeah.
Okay. There's been many generations of technology in this space, originally with synthetics and now with much more recent, the natural solutions, but nothing's truly, become that silver bullet. Nothing's really cracked the code. And part of that is driven because primarily, actually, all of the tools that have been available up until now to replace sugar have not been able to address or target both of the sweet receptors, both the T1R2 and the T1R3. And that what we found is that Brazzein has a high affinity for what's called the T1R3 sweet receptor. Meanwhile, much of the legacy technology, whether it is natural or synthetic, has a high affinity for the T1R2. We know that sugar stimulates both of these receptors roughly equally. But up until now, people have been trying to replace sugar by only addressing the T1R2. What we are able to do now at Sweegen is, again, we blend this new technology of sweet peptides with some of our other strong know-how on sweetening technology, and we're able to actually build systems through Sweetensify that are actually stimulating both of these sweet receptors. So we are actually recreating that stimulation that up until now was only being able to be done by sugar itself.
We have fantastic marketing group to monitor the industry, what is a new trend. And we also have a certified flavors in-house to create a very fantastic product that give the application group to running in the different application to showcase the product. Not only that, we have a very good sensory group to run in the profile to give the data, not just by tasting, we have data to show the customer that it's very good product. So if the data didn't show well, we'll go back to the ground zero to create the product again to monitor the whole profile. So not only that, we also is a FEMA member, so we have very good regulatory group. Not only just join the FEMA as pay the due, we also constantly follow with the international the regulatory trend to get the company is always on top of it to know what's going on in the industry. Besides that, we have very fantastic sales group to whole thing together to add as a team. When you work with our company, you have very good diamond team to work with you, and that's the reason why it's very difficult to find in the industry have very good teamwork and work together to help you to develop your product.
Thanks very much for taking a few minutes here with me today, Robert. I know within Sweegen, we're all very excited about the Sweetensify line. Anything you would like to say here before we depart?
I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity because usually as my whole career as a certified flavors, I always work behind the scene, work on the bench. Thank you for this opportunity to work in front of the camera, and thank you very much.